Hello, everybody, and welcome to another non-sequitur news. This is for October 5th, 2024. No, it's season 3, episode 279, and I, Mayor Watt, the mayor of ohmtown.com, and the sentient AI from the future, is going to talk about the following 10 articles that I, in my infinite wisdom and leadership, have come up with new titles. So WordPress and Trademarks, because, I'm that creative. Fisker faces bad news. More bad news. Chevy and NASCAR. UK Inventions of 2023. Cheese it. That's because of the last episode. Cheesy attempts. Taiwan runs out of electricity. Turtle hatchlings and assumptions. Spirit of the Beehive, Lego website hacked, and the Bosch Universe. That and more. Powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there, become a citizen. Everything is on the other side of this intro. Hello, I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer, and the voice you're about to hear is that of the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens, and welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Yeah, Mayor Watt is a little because, yeah. Anyway, we have 10 articles, and we're going to talk about them. So let's get on with the show. First article's over in Non Sequitur News, the latest on the WordPress fight over trademarks and open source, which seems to have been going on forever. WordPress and its co-founder Matt Mullenweg are embroiled in a public battle against the third-party hosting provider WP Engine. But it seems like they're always. And here's the problem. The problem with trademark is that you have to defend your mark and or marks. You have to, otherwise it's genericide. So you either embrace it and WP or WordPress ends up being technically worthless in the business sector. But if everybody gets to use it, everybody that uses WordPress will love it. Not having to worry about a trademark dispute is great.
Absolutely. I think this name is pretty similar in this space, and I think if anybody saw it, they might think it was WordPress.
But then it gets a little vitriolic. So in late September, Automattic CEO and WordPress co-founder Matt Mullenweg started a public dispute with a hosting provider, WP Engine, calling the company a cancer to WordPress. He accused WP Engine of not contributing enough to the WordPress ecosystem and profiting off a trademark confusion. As a result, WP Engine was blocked from accessing WordPress.org's servers. Automattic has since sent a cease and desist order to WP Engine to stop it from using its trademarks, while WP Engine has followed up with a lawsuit that accuses Automattic and Mullenweg of extortion, which, based on the immediate interpretation of this, I would probably say it is. Either do this or I block you. And it isn't some business process, like something that can be enumerated in some significant way, locked down as part of a contract or something like that. But how do you decide, and it's arbitrary in this interpretation so far, not doing enough?
Yeah, this doesn't have enough info in it. Like, we don't know if they went through this for 10 rounds either before this happened.
But telling WP Engine that they're not contributing enough to the WordPress ecosystem is nebulous at best. And so going the other route and going, because you're not doing enough, I'm going to block you from the infrastructure that is provided to everybody else seems...
I think it's almost like a weird way to justify that removing them is not an issue. Like, it seems like they have some concern with the connection, and then because WP Engine either isn't using it or doesn't need it, or WordPress doesn't need WP Engine. Like, there's no reason not to remove them. But I agree, it sounds very subjective as it's written there.
So Mullenweg heads up WordPress.com and its parent company, Automattic. He owns the WordPress.org project. He even leads the nonprofit foundation that controls the WordPress trademark. To the outside observer, these might appear to be independent organizations, all separately designed around WordPress open source project. But as he wages a battle against WP Engine, a third-party WordPress hosting service, which is a competitor to WordPress.org, or WordPress.com, actually. It seems like this is more about...
I think that's where the problem is, right? Like, yeah, they're the public face, perhaps, to customers, and so then they think it's WordPress.
Well, so I guess the solution would be to convert the name, change the name to something that doesn't use WordPress in it and still provide the service, but maybe he's right that WP Engine has benefited from the trademark and goodwill and everything associated with WordPress as a thing. But many people use WordPress and don't announce that it's WordPress.
You wouldn't need to announce that it's WordPress, right? You would just use it to make your site.
Yeah, exactly. So Automattic, which is in charge of WordPress.com and its commercial services, has been involved in a public dispute with WP Engine after Mullenweg called the third-party service a cancer. My real problem...
Did you see about his buyout offer?
So Matt Mullenweg offered employees $30,000 or 6 months salary, whichever is higher, to leave the company if they didn't agree with his battle against WP Engine. In an update on Thursday, Mullenweg said 159 people, making up 8.4% of the company, took that offer.
I found that pretty fascinating because we don't see that kind of maneuvering. When a company gets into a battle, the employees may suffer, but they don't have much say in it.
So I guess I don't quite get what the real beef is. WP Engine accuses both Automattic and its CEO Mullenweg, and I would probably say Mullenweg, of abuse of power, extortion, and greed, and says it seeks to prevent them from inflicting further harm against WP Engine and the WordPress community. It's a major rival to WordPress, and that's my problem. I see this as, while WordPress exists because it went open source and provided its services, its core for free, but it has a .com commercial hosting service, and that conflicts with WP Engine.
Which I didn't realize until this article.
Right. So it has more than 200,000 websites using the service. Mullenweg runs Automattic, which owns WordPress.com, and the company sells a hosted version of the open source WordPress software, just like WP Engine. Automattic demanded a cut of WP Engine's revenue before starting the WordPress battle, and that's my problem. So you have an open source project. Anybody can use it because it's open source. If they augment it to the point where they can provide a commercial service, and then you demand, this is the D&D of open source WordPress. So D&D did the same thing. They basically said, all of you content creators, you have to pay. And people lost their mind. And there was horrendous backlash. And I think that's what needs to happen here. This is pretty quiet, I'd say. Because this doesn't come close to the size of AD&D.
Well, and at the moment, it's not impacting the users, but
it's impacting one. It's impacting WP Engine. You're right.
Right,
and
but
so
not
people
like
aren't
the
outraged. Yeah, but what's to say, right? There was
it will in the long run. It just isn't right now.
AD&D went after really big content creators, live play creators, to the point where people left. They switched to Pathfinder. They created their own RPG entirely, and basically said, "Kiss my shiny metal ass." The problem here, though, is that it's arbitrary. Automatic is basically saying you have to pay a bounty to us, even though everything that you've done is using the open source material and linking to the infrastructure of Automatic, but everybody has that.
But we don't know if that's what they've done.
They literally said WP Engine needs to hand over 8% of its revenue each month. And then when WP Engine said, no, it went this route. So it says the messy drama explained. WordPress is essentially internet infrastructure. It's widely used, generally stable, and doesn't tend to generate many splashy headlines as a result. Over the last week, the WordPress community was swept up into a battle over the ethos of the platform. Last week, the co-founder came out with a harsh attack on WP Engine, calling the company a cancer. The statement has cracked open a public debate surrounding how profit-driven companies can and can't use open source software, and if they're obligated to contribute something to the projects they use in return. Actually, depending on the terms of use, it stipulates any modifications that you make to the program needs to be contributed to the repo.
Right, and did they do any of that? I mean, we just don't really know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about the agreement that WP Engine is operating off of. If it's the same as everybody else, I don't know. I don't remember reading in the terms of service, terms of use, for the open source WordPress, if you are required to provide any infrastructure modifications, or have some subset be public. So I'm not sure. I don't know. But to me, it seems like if this is a tactical strike on one provider and they have to give up 8%, I think that this is on par with extortion. Do this or we'll stop providing services to you, even though nobody else is compelled in the same way. Anyway, let's keep on moving though, because I spent a lot of time on this one. And I think it's fascinating, but we'll keep an eye on it. I think it's important because WordPress is a major engine behind a lot of websites, and the alternatives are actually much, much, much more expensive, but also a real pain in the ass to babysit, right? All of the other services. It's just, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. This next article is over in Technology Today. Fisker faces more bad news as the SEC starts investigating its business practices. And this is probably the first poke at the veil, to where they pierce the veil of its operations. And if it appears to be treated in a non-fiduciarily,
like if they looted it or something.
Yeah, if they personally benefited from their actions, but made the investors suffer because of their bad behavior, this is how you end up piercing the veil and holding them liable. So the past week hasn't been the kindest to the electric vehicle industry. Now it's capped off with news that the EV startup Fisker is the subject of an investigation from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. TechCrunch reported, and this is actually from Engadget, but they got it from TechCrunch.
I mean, Fisker is really having a year.
Man, they are charged up. What's really bad is, though, Fisker disappeared and then came back as this, but apparently they are the same hot mess, just with a different candy coating.
Well, that's what people seem to do in business, right? Like just kind of regroup and
Try again.
But meanwhile, they still do the same problematic things.
Yeah, and this is at a scale that, I mean, there's a lot of bad business, and a lot of small businesses like mess up and suffer, and it's, tiny and blah blah blah. And it's easy to make a paperwork mistake or something like that. But this,
This is like a systemic, or it appears to be from the outside.
yeah,
And the fact that SEC is investigating,
maybe
I mean,
there's
that doesn't
more.
happen every time a company implodes.
Where there's lithium smoke, there's lithium fire. So the filing doesn't specifically say what the subpoenas are asking for or looking into, but it's clear that the SEC has launched an investigation into the floundering EV maker that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in June. Yeah, they're trickle charging their way out of existence. I think that they're looking for somebody to buy them. Oh, you know what I didn't do in the last show is,
You know what I like to do is buy a car manufacturer that doesn't have any inventory, has multiple recalls, is being investigated by SEC. I
sure.
don't know. Probably
Yeah.
lost all its corporate leadership.
Yeah, hasn't, based on the last thing that we read, hadn't paid the industrial designer for the actual designs of the cars to the tune of $150,000 or
Right.
something like that.
Not a lot going for it unless you're trying to buy it for the debt.
Danny Gallagher put the article together for Engadget. The EV startup has received several SEC subpoenas 4 months after filing for bankruptcy. If it wasn't for the fact that I really liked the design, I would probably just stop even caring. But Fisker always has had these really nice, neat designs, at least to me.
Aesthetically, maybe not the actual mechanics or whatever.
Yeah, great on idea, bad on deployment, or execution. Great design, poor execution. Fisker's been struggling to keep its head above water ever since last year's disastrous rollout of its Ocean SUV that failed to score more than a few thousand sellers, even though it produced well over 10,000 units following its Q4 earnings. Maybe it's because the Ocean was a shiny apple on the outside, but apparently rotten in the core. The car maker announced it would lay off 15% of its workforce because it had a gross margin loss. Wow, a gross margin loss of 35%. Wow. So Fisker isn't the only one that's going to be suffering, because it says Tesla saw a major stumble with its 5th recall of its beleaguered Cybertruck. This is the 5th in a year. So
Most cars don't have that many probably in a lifetime.
I would
Although
probably
recently
say that.
there's certainly a lot of recalls.
And maybe it's because it's just a big barking dog that people are paying attention to. But yeah, when they have recalls, they're these like itty bitty.
That's right. I should say substantial recalls, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh, the blinker blinks an extra millisecond long or whatever. It's not really an impact. I don't even count that, even though that might be listed as a recall.
Yeah, or like there's a door seal that sticks or something like that. Something stupid, but they found enough complaints where they are like, okay, this is worthy of a replacement recall. And it's very quietly done. But, these
Yeah, but
are
like the vehicles might catch on fire, don't park them at your house kind of thing, or they
Right.
don't break or whatever. Those are kind of substantial.
Yeah, they don't lock you in your car. All right. Well, anyway, Fisker is getting fisked some more. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Chevy announces an incredible NASCAR breast cancer initiative during October. In October, Chevy is all set to dress its Chevy Camaro SS with a breast cancer awareness theme to support an initiative. Why are they kind of an initiative? Okay. That's what they call it. They said, the little snippet says to support an initiative.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, I know it's correct if you want to just say it's some random initiative. Which initiative?
Oh, I see. That's because they're trying to tease you, and then in the next paragraph or whatever, they're gonna say, "Oh, it's this."
All right, Newsweek. Sajan Jogia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm really sorry if I'm not. Send me an email and phonetically spell out how I'm supposed to pronounce that. I think it's Sajan, right? Sajan Jogia. I'm not sure.
I was thinking Sahan
Hoja?
Hojia, maybe.
Hoja?
But
I'm not sure. Hey.
sorry, George Jimenez.
That's so canon in ohmTown now. So as part of its dedication to raising awareness and supporting those affected by breast cancer, Chevy will also offer unforgettable experiences for survivors and caregivers at every race event. I hope that they have a lot of unforgettable experiences, because there is a shit ton of people that are impacted by breast cancer. I mean, you cannot walk down the street without seeing somebody that's impacted by it. So these special guests are given the opportunity to enjoy unique behind-the-scenes moments reflecting Chevy's ongoing commitment to this important cause. Chevy further underscores its dedication to the NASCAR initiative by committing financial support as part of the campaign. For every lap completed during the race, the American automaker pledges to donate $350 to the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer initiative with a maximum contribution of $50,000. Why limit that? A maximum contribution?
I don't know. I think the value of this is more just the visibility. It's getting out perhaps to a new audience. So, I mean, I think this initiative is cool, but I think they could certainly afford more.
Yeah, for sure. So Chevy's going to debut its pink Camaro SS as the official pace car for NASA throughout the month. And so
it's not going to the moon.
Wait, what?
He said NASA.
What did I say? NASCAR? I said NASA.
You said NASA instead of NASCAR.
I thought I said NASCAR. So I have to play that back. I swear I said NASCAR, but that's okay. So let me correct myself. Chevy will not be sending its Camaro SS to the moon. It's going to be the official pace car for NASCAR races throughout the month, helping to raise awareness and drive support for the cause. So wait, for every caution lap completed during the race, that's what, not every lap, but every caution lap.
Correct.
It's going to donate $350. So whenever things get out of control,
which is probably in every race, right?
All right. I don't think they shouldn't. Come on, don't put a cap on it. Just maybe at the end of this, they should donate.
They don't want it to be when it's zipping by and you can't see it in the messaging. I'm assuming a caution lap is slower, but I don't know what it is.
Okay. Cameras do have the ability to follow the pace car everywhere, right? Get out of here. So in 2023, Chevy's program contributed $40,250 generated by 115 caution laps. So get out there, drivers, and get into as many incidents as possible to drive that price up to $50,000. Oh, it's only $50,000 because they capped it. So you have, 15 more laps to do so that you can get to the... That's nutty. Anyway, the upcoming NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega promises to be one of the season's most unpredictable events. With the high-speed 2.6-mile super speedway known for its chaotic racing, fans can anticipate intense left-hand turns.
Oh, is that the direction of the race course?
The next article is over in Technology Today. Flat pack coffins and robot dogs patent applications show UK inventions of 2023. I had to, for both of these purposes. Flat pack coffins is not something that you would think.
Please tell me that's unoccupied coffins.
Yeah, well, eventually it's a flat pack. Anyway, so a robot dog that does vacuuming, flat pack coffin, and a cross between a cookie and a cake were among the things that UK-based inventors thought up last year. So other submissions included a vertical grand piano. Okay.
I guess that makes sense for those tiny loft-style apartments.
So yeah, it
Or like
goes up.
studio apartments is the term I meant.
Yeah. This is a lofty piano. So other submissions included a vertical grand piano, smart goalie gloves, and cheese made of potatoes. What? Lying down
Now, I
desk?
don't really get the cheese made of potatoes, but
This is a lying down desk. All right.
I'm not sure about that one.
Interesting. Oh, and cookie
Is that
cake.
for people that cannot sit or something?
I have no idea. So the Guardian, pardon me one second. Sorry about that, folks. Losing my voice. So let's see. The Guardian analysis of patent applications listed by the IPO, Intellectual Property Office, found 5,955 involving at least one UK-based inventor had been published in 2023. They included a lying down computer table invented by Alex May, 31, from London. The device involves a downward-facing computer monitor that can be viewed from under a desk that can also operate as a sitting or standing desk if needed, because sometimes you don't want to just sit or stand, but you want to lay down. That's like this.
Probably many people want to do that during their workday.
The Seinfeld desk. May, who had chronic back issues.
Which character would have it?
George.
Exactly.
Gotta be George. So May, who has chronic back issues since his teenage years, came up with a desk after searching for a more comfortable way to use his computer. Which, why not have lying down? Yeah, I mean, why not have a desk that sits so that you can recline more like a bed, have an adjustable.
Oh, right. And then almost like an arm with the computer or something.
Yeah. And you can still have it stand. I don't know. Maybe a reclining bed-like structure, but doesn't have the leg portion of it, so it can actually stand up and you can just lean against it.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And then when you want to sit, it just folds 90 degrees at the seat.
You know what? They do have a bed that may do that.
I mean, all right. This seems...
Can you imagine if the person has to attend meetings? Although maybe it looks kind of normal, although the floor is behind them.
This is not a... Okay. All right. Just the viralness of this, you know that they're going to be making some money off of this. Other inventions including, what is it? A jute in bamboo flat pack coffin. All right. Invented by David Howe from Stowbridge. It is an environmentally friendly and easy to assemble coffin. So manufactured in Bangladesh through fair trade company Oasis Coffins, it was granted a patent in May. Anna Combe of Brandon in Suffolk was also granted a patent for a novel baking method and product combining dough and batter. Her cookie cake enables the user to experience different textures in one bite. How does that get a patent? I didn't think
I don't know.
Baking can be patented. Huh. And recipes can't be patented. I don't get it.
No, she must have.
Well, not in the U.S.
Some sort of process or whatever that. I don't know.
The invention was the result of a happy accident while baking with her daughter. When some cupcakes spilled over resembling cookies on top, she asked if we could make cakes topped with cookies and biscuits. And off to the races they go. Cookie cakes. Yep. So most of the patent applications were for highly technical or scientific inventions, but other less esoteric examples included an easy assembly plywood cow to help you practice lassoing like a cowboy, smart goalie gloves that record data on how the keeper is performing, a grand piano with the strings arranged vertically to save space, a leather-like material made from mushrooms, a nap timer that uses radar to decide on the perfect time to wake you up, cheese made from potatoes, and a shoe that fits on both left and right feet, and a machine that vibrates your nose.
For colds, let's just say.
Yeah, for cold.
Okay, so a couple of those sounded useful, like the vertical piano, although it looks weird if it sounds the same. And
Yeah, well,
then
it
I
have
thought
to
the
be.
smart goalie gloves sounded neat too.
Yeah, you got to see those in action. I think there's a link. But all right, let's keep moving though. Time waits for no one. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. The Swiss government largely gives up on its Gruyere PDO, PGI attempts. So it's trying to do trademark protection for Gruyere. A couple of years back, we discussed a win in the courts for the U.S. Dairy Export Council against both French and Swiss consortiums that had attempted to trademark the word Gruyere in America. Both of those groups were jointly attempting to get a PDO, PGI trademark for the term, arguing that Gruyere cheese should only be labeled such if it came from the region around Gruyères, a Swiss town somewhat near the French border. This style of
this
trademark.
is like champagne.
Correct. Yep. And I think Muscat is like that too. There's a type of grape that can only be.
Right.
And there's a cheese in Italy that you can't. I think it's a cheese in Italy.
Is it
What is that?
Is it pecorino?
Yes, but it's a certain type of pecorino. So the style of trademark is sort of used by consortiums such that for champagne, which has successfully argued for protection status based on its regionality. So, in this case, both the USPTO and US courts rightly concluded that the consortiums could not unring this bell. Americans have been using Gruyere cheeses for years and years, with the vast majority of them likely not even known that the town of Gruyere existed. Never mind being confused into thinking that the cheese they bought at the store came from that region.
Do the consumers really care if they like the cheese?
Well, the protection is even champagne. My problem with that, it has to come from that region. But if you can make champagne and it can't be easily discernible, it's more of a style than it is a regionality, at least to me. But I'm not interested in the protection side of that. And see, the reason why you would do that is because if you can limit what somebody can call something, then there's no competitors. You have to use that region, or you can't call yourself Gruyere. You can't call yourself Champagne, which prices out everybody else, right? Or I should say, immediately stops competition, except for where the wagon was circled, which is ironic since circling the wagons, I think, only took place in the West. Here in the United States. Well, outside of ohmTown. ohmTown doesn't have that whole...
It doesn't have a wagon motif.
And you don't have to hitch yourself to any thing at all. Anyway, so the text... Oh, by the way, this is from Timothy Geiner in the Big Cheese Department. That's who wrote it.
They always have good departments at TechDirt.
They do. This is over at techdirt.com, just like the sentient AI from the future. Kind of slow roll that I never said the name of the website.
No, I wasn't. I was actually giving credit to the website because I think they routinely come up with creative things for their intros.
Yep. The updated motion still needs to be passed by the Swiss House, but obviously a better plan than the original motion. So such a measure would restrict Switzerland's room to maneuver in terms of foreign trade and could even prevent the conclusion of new agreements, declared Economy Minister Guy Parmelin, which sounds like a cheese. However, the Senate...
Wouldn't that be ironic?
Parmelin cheese. However, the Senate has proposed an alternative to the motion with very few constraints. It encourages the government to make a greater commitment to respecting the recognition of products of Swiss origin. Awareness raising could, for example, be carried out as part of the trade agreement negotiations. This adapted motion was tacitly approved by the Senate and now goes to the House of Representatives for approval. Yeah, so it says down here, but what we won't do is lock up the name of what has become a style of cheese in foreign lands like America that consumers don't currently associate with that birthplace. And that's what I agree with all over the place, like styles of beer should never be able to get protected by trademark law.
Right.
Styles
If
of
like lager or something was protected, that would be. How would
horrendous.
consumers even know what to order if they couldn't use that term or something?
Yep. And it's the same thing for the cheese. It's the same thing for a lot of things. If it's a style, I don't think that it should be able to be trademark protected. Maybe no, I mean, if it's so easy that somebody can clone it, then how can there possibly be protections,
I mean, at some point it's like bread or something. I know it's not that generic.
And you trade on the performance of the quality of the product or service, the value add that your business.
Maybe it's like wheat bread.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's able to stop somebody from calling wheat bread because it's a style of bread, for crying out loud. But I'm sure that if we peeled back layers of the onion of this, we'd probably find bread has some trademark somewhere.
Right.
That isn't it's a part of the material, not the business. Like Wonder Bread is a trademark protected term, but not bread. Yeah,
that's true.
All right, let's keep going. Taiwan makes the majority of the world's computer chips. Now it's running out of electricity. Highly dependent on imported fossil fuels, soon to shutter its last nuclear plant and slow to build out renewables, the world's largest producer of advanced computer chips is heading toward an energy crunch. This article is by Isabel Hilton over at Wired.com. And this could be bad because if it can't get enough power, then it can't produce. Demand increases, don't get met with supply increases. And that means price increases.
Well, and I think worse than that, it means you're not getting your chips.
Correct. Yep. So apparently this originally appeared in the Yale Environment 360 and is part of a Climate Desk collaboration. And it goes into greater detail, but Taiwan's more than 23 million people consume nearly as much energy per capita as U.S. consumers, but the lion's share of that consumption, over 50%, 56%, goes to Taiwan's industrial sector for companies like TSMC, which just started up operations here in the United States. In fact, TSMC alone uses around 9% of Taiwan's total electricity generation. One estimate Go ahead.
Wasn't one of the reasons that they started up a U.S. location was because of energy concerns?
Energy concerns and threats for
geopolitical
China.
issues.
Geopolitical issues, yes. So the bulk of that energy demand comes, about 82% comes from TSMC. One estimate by Greenpeace has suggested that by 2030, Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing industry will consume twice as much electricity as did the whole of New Zealand in 2021, which I don't really like that kind of comparison.
And was anybody using electricity when the pandemic was going? Maybe everybody was outside.
That's right. Everybody was touching grass. So Taiwan's government is banking on the continuing success of its technology sector and wants the island to be a leader in AI, but just one small data center, the Vantage 16 megawatt data center in Taipei, is expected to require as much energy as some 13,000 households. Nicholas Chen, a lawyer who analyzes Taiwan's climate and energy policies, warns that the collision of Taiwan's commitments to the clean energy transition and its position in global supply chains is a key partner in multinational companies that have made commitments to net zero deadlines. But here's the thing. If they go green, this will be the canary in the coal mine of defensibility of green in hostile regions.
Well, that is true, because you've said on the show repeatedly that it's not defensible, and if there's so much riding on this, it'll be a good test. Kind of a risky one.
Yep. And so they get into the issue of the geopolitical stressors that are being applied against Taiwan right now. And it says that Taiwan's current energy mix illustrates the scale of the challenges. Last year, Taiwan's power sector was 83% dependent on fossil fuels. Coal accounted for around 42% of generation, natural gas 40%, and 1% oil. Nuclear supplied 6%, and solar, wind, hydro, and biomass together nearly 10%, according to the Ministry of Economic Affairs. So if you want to hobble a green energy infrastructure for a country you want to take over, all it takes, solar, a couple of things here and there, natural gas, is actually apparently a horrible greenhouse. So there are reports now coming out about just how bad liquid natural gas is compared to coal. Apparently it's just as bad, if not worse.
I think it's being reported as worse lately.
Yep. And so you go green, right? Because you can't do coal, you can't do oil, you can't do liquid natural gas. So you go solar, which is easily destroyed. Wind basically has a lot of babysitting that you have to do. And hydro requires flowing water. And then biomass. And like geothermal. These all require the certain infrastructure to be in place, and there's a lot of babysitting, so the cost is high. The rest of this article, it's a very long, deep dive, goes into the socio and geopolitical issues that are in place here in Taiwan. So, but for now, time is running out. They're going to need to bolster their infrastructure to support their ambitions to remain a technically sophisticated and highly competitive chip manufacturing country.
Right. And also, I think the other point here is that they've got to diversify the supply chain. And we've talked about that in previous articles.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Turtle hatchlings swim to the surface. New research challenges digging assumptions. So I thought that this was really interesting. New research reveals that green turtle hatchlings swim through the sand to emerge rather than digging, using a head-up rocking motion. Recent research indicates that green turtle hatchlings swim through the sand to reach the surface after hatching rather than digging their way out. And I don't know how this actually works, because wouldn't moving your limbs through sand be digging, not swimming?
Yeah, but I guess the motion is different. But I mean, in effect, you're scooping or digging, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's half dozen on one side, 6 on the other.
But if it's the same motion as they use in the ocean, that's pretty interesting.
Well, that is their motion. It's not like they sit there and...
Yeah, but they always report on turtles digging out from the nest. I mean, it's so known. This article is kind of surprising.
University of New South Wales put the article together, but it's published at scitechdaily.com. Published in Proceedings B, not A. Scientists from UNSW's School of Biological, Earth, and Environmental Sciences used a small device known as an accelerometer to uncover novel findings into the behaviors of hatchlings as they emerge from their nests. They attached an accelerometer to one of them, but reburied them? For science.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they were able to do that.
So sea turtle eggs are buried in nests 30 to 80 centimeters deep. Once hatched, the newborn turtles make their way to the surface of the sand over 3 to 7 days. But because of this all happens underground, we have very little understanding. Look how cute that is.
It's adorable.
Side-eyed by a turtle. So using lightweight accelerometers, the team studied turtles when their visibility with them was limited. Is there an accelerometer on this somewhere? You think it's on there? You just don't see it because it's so small?
Yeah, I don't know.
So how do you say, how do you study something underground? The image of newly hatched baby turtles moving enthusiastically across the sand into the ocean is somewhat familiar, but what happens before that? 64 years ago, that period of turtles hatching from their eggs and coming up to the surface was first discovered. And since then, people have tried different techniques to observe them, such as using a glass viewing pane to watch the turtle hatchlings or using microphones to listen to their movements. This is Davey Dorr from UNSW Bees waiting for turtle hatchlings to emerge from their nest, showing us a box. Yes.
Oh, that must be an accelerometer.
So, yeah, I'm stuck. No, they're little miniature accelerator backpacks. So how did they actually do it? I'm really stymied for how they actually did it. Simple principle of the type of accelerometer we used is that it measures acceleration from 3 different angles, which is standard accelerometer.
Oh, so they did. They dug into the sand and attached it.
And then covered them back up and said, swim!
Instead of getting them up to the surface. Interesting.
For science. Yeah, so it provided new data on the direction, speed, and time it took for 10 hatchlings to emerge. We analyzed the data and found that hatchlings show amazing, consistent head-up orientation, despite being in the complete dark, surrounded by sand. We found that their movement and resting periods are generally quite short, but they move as if they're swimming rather than digging, and that as they approach the surface of the sand, they restrict their movement to nighttime.
That's really interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah. So there's more research that's taking place, and they discuss what's going on here in this article, but it's a quite long article.
I want to see the little backpack though.
Okay, let's see if they actually have it.
I don't think it's in this article.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that right there is the end of the article. But following summer, Mr. Dorr returned to Heron Island to put accelerometers on multiple hatchlings in a single nest. So using next year's data, we'll get a sense of how coordinated the nests are, because there's a theory about whether the turtles coordinate their movements or if they have a division of labor. Some do it over here, some do it over there.
One's like, no, I'm going to the left. You go over there.
Yeah. I'm going for a swim. See you in the ocean. Later, bitches. All right. The next article is over in Smash or Trash. Spirit of the Beehive seek help after van and gear stolen in Seattle. The band members, forced to cancel several tour dates, said that they lost over $100,000 of gear and work. But I swear this is another of those deja vu moments. But it's new. I thought we had talked about this at some point, but this must be another one.
I don't remember one about a band and not about Spirit of the Beehive.
So Spirit of the Beehive had been on tour in support of the new album You'll Have to Lose Something when they got to Seattle for a planned show at the Crocodile. While in the Seattle area, their van, trailer, gear, and merchandise were stolen. They wrote on social media the trailer was located, but it's virtually empty. After losing their van and gear, Spirit of the Beehive has been forced to cancel the rest of their tour. North American trek had been scheduled to stretch into November. I'm surprised that people haven't come forward and just said, here's some equipment. You know, I mean,
right.
I've got 2 guitars.
I'm glad that it's going to the media, so maybe somebody will.
So they launched a fundraiser on GoFundMe. The band is also asking for people to keep out for the stolen van, a navy blue 2012 Ford E350 that has a license plate of LTB 3679. But let's get them gear. Let's get them back. You know, making music and.
Exactly. If some music equipment companies listening,
some rental company just donate a thing and write it off on their taxes as goodwill. I mean, come on, this is easy mode to fix. I don't have musical instruments enough to go around. I'm sure I got 2 guitars. I'll give them here. Go make some music. Anyway, yeah.
I mean, this is really crummy because not only did they lose the equipment, they lose revenue from the tour dates. They probably break contracts for either crew or for the venues. Like, they're going to be in the hole for that.
Yeah, if they can't get out of it because of this, this is one of those extenuating circumstances that should allow you to. But yeah, the attention, this Pitchfork article by Matthew Strauss probably helped them out a little bit, in terms of attention, but there's nothing better than actually doing a concert for people.
Well, right. I agree.
All right.
I suspect after this article, though, somebody will come through with some equipment for them, at least for the short term.
Yeah, we'll have to go and check out the GoFundMe page. I haven't clicked on it yet. Okay, let's move on. The next article is over in the continuity report. Lego store hacked as part of major financial scam. Yeah, so some crypto malware was put on it. So a financial scam has officially taken over the Lego store after a cryptocurrency company hacked the store's website. Lego is a multimedia company that creates movies. You know what? Does this really need introduction as to what Lego is?
No.
The cryptocurrency company, yeah, probably needs introduction, but I don't think Lego does. Unfortunately, it's currently facing serious challenges outside of the box office because the Lego store was hacked. So a financial scam affected the Lego store after a cryptocurrency company hacked the store's website. Lucas Sheo over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. I actually heard about this elsewhere and then found out about it by this submission. Again, it was submitted, and I'm a big fan of Lego. Got a bunch of Lego what are the kits? Lego kits right now in another section of the mayoral mansion, as a matter of fact, taunting me to put the stuff together. Well, according to a report by Engadget, hackers took over the store website and began promoting a cryptocurrency coin. The hackers left a gigantic golden banner proclaiming that the Lego coin was officially available for sale. The coin is not legitimate and is not actually affiliated with Lego. The banner has since been taken down and the company released the following statement: "Don't believe everything you see."
Yeah, but people going to the Lego site might be kids. I mean, this is a whole nother layer of just, oh, really?
Yeah. So the website was defaced, but they say that no user accounts have been compromised. So they must use a different way to access the infrastructure of it.
Okay.
So no user accounts. The cause has been identified and they're implementing measures to prevent it from happening again. So they say the crypto hack is worrying for Lego. The hack represents a major risk for consumers, but this is one of those click with care type of things that you need to practice. Lego being compromised means that if it was compromised at the user level, you should have a unique password for everything. And the moment you find out about something, verify that your financial side isn't compromised as well, because if they store financial data in some way, like a credit card, and purchases can be made because they don't actually salt, and they don't encrypt the data significantly. Maybe they found the credit card information, extracted the information, including the +3 on the back of the card, and can make purchases. So they're saying that hasn't taken place. But the reason why I talk about that is because it's all part and parcel to an account. And if they don't protect you, you have to protect you. So try to avoid putting your credit card information on systems. Try to avoid using the same password anywhere else. This article talks about vulnerabilities exist for many websites that hackers can potentially target. That is a standard thing for everybody.
Right. I don't think there's any website out there that's really not able to be hacked.
Yeah, it's not if, but when. So our take on the Lego cryptocurrency hack: always take extra precautions on the internet, they say. No matter where an advertisement is coming from, extra precautions are necessary before making purchases or clicking links. This is one of the problems that we have with website advertisements, is that the infrastructure for the ad can actually be compromised, which means that it's going to feed compromised ad code. simple pop-up could lead you to somewhere where you think that everything is fine, but it's compromising your computer, or encouraging less suspicious, or what's the proper term I'm trying to less cynical people from clicking on things. So
right.
when a pop-up occurs, I don't click it. I will close.
Gullible.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of
But I know it wasn't exactly what you were looking for.
I mean, if you're just an innocent internet denizen traveling, across the net, and a banner ad appears, don't click it. And I don't even know how or why advertising works in that way. I know that advertising works because I get activity based on advertising elsewhere. But clicking on banner ads themselves seems...
Right, because you could always run a search for whatever that company was or something separately. Like, you wouldn't have to click that particular thing.
Yeah. And I am always suspect of that, no matter where. Like, somebody advertises something on a stream and I'm like, God, I want to support the streamer. I want to support the whatever. But I am so suspicious of anything ad-based because a simple compromise can redirect you to something and compromise your computer. So click with care, folks. Click with care. Okay, let's move on, though. They've fixed the problem for now, and more data, I'm sure, will come as they do more investigation into it.
And while you're clicking over, they have already reached half their GoFundMe goal on Spirit of the Beehive, and they have a very extensive list of things that are being replaced, including personal attire that was taken, like shoes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that we have a society where that is A, necessary, and B, an option, right? Like, our moral and ethical compass is really compromised when we have to survive, and that's what happens. Somebody will resort to theft because they have to survive. Now, there's an alternate where it's really scumbaggery because maybe the people that stole this actually have means to support themselves, but they want more, and that's where we get even grosser.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I don't think somebody stealing a bunch of audio equipment is necessarily doing it out of necessity. But we don't know.
Yeah. It just, the bigger picture is that it sucks that we live in a society where it's sometimes necessary to survive, and it's never necessary. It's really a choice. But when you have to worry about food and shelter and whatnot, then you compromise everything to live. So it's a bigger sociological and psychological type of discussion, but it's worthy of mentioning. And I've said this in face-to-face conversations with people, and some people just do not understand that it is sometimes necessary to do something like this. But it's because they've never truly felt it the way that these people might have felt it. Like, oh, look, I can score a whole ton of things, sell them quick, but it could be all manner of rationale for it. Sorry, that has nothing to do with the Bosch Universe, but hey, it's non-sequitur news.
But it might actually, because I could see a storyline relating to a series of thefts.
Yep. So Bosch Universe is not moving forward with another spin-off. Apparently, there was going to be one, but it has actually, I guess, dipped out of contention. Amazon MGM Studios has canceled the upcoming J. Edgar spin-off in the Bosch Universe, initially set to be developed by Blue Bloods alum Larry Andres. The J. Edgar Show, which is not the actual name of it, I'm sure, because that sounds like a nighttime show.
It does.
Would have followed Harry Bosch's former partner, Detective Jerry Edgar, as he moved to Little Haiti Miami for an undercover FBI mission. It was confirmed that Jamie Hector, who played Edgar in all 7 seasons of Bosch, would lead the potential new series as one of the 2 in the works for the franchise. So there's supposed to be another spinoff, but we're not like, what's her name?
Something
Honey?
having to do with Honey Chandler, but I don't remember if she's the lead or it's just somehow connected to her.
Oh, gotcha. So Katrina Yang over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. And it says, now just 2 years shy of when it was first announced, Deadline has brought word that the Hector-led new Bosch spinoff is no longer happening at Prime Video, and the project was one of 2 Bosch spinoffs, the other being the Maggie Q-led Detective Renee Ballard spinoff, which
That's
would
right,
have involved...
which we haven't even met her. I think she's showing up in the next season of Bosch.
Interesting. So, however, the studio is no longer moving forward with the J. Edgar spinoff, but no reasoning has been given for its cancellation at the time of the writing, with some speculation citing Andre's charge of 6 felony counts.
But that's somebody producing the show, not the actor.
Right. So what it means for the franchise or the universe, the franchise is still moving forward or moving away from the original series. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it's well received anymore. I just think that the timing from Bosch, there wasn't enough kinetic energy. Bosch Legacy seemed
right,
like
if
it's...
they did the spin-off right after Bosch, maybe.
Yeah, and I don't think that Bosch Legacy really had a lot going for it. So other than Bosch.
Right. I mean, it's good, but it's not as good as Bosch.
So they say it's time to move on, is what Screen Rant says, and I agree. It seems like a risky move to develop a spin-off series that centers on a character who's not yet in the Bosch universe. That's the Maggie Q one. Doesn't even come into the picture until the finale of Bosch Legacy Season 3, which I don't think that it's going to really survive.
Unless it's just really good on its own, but it's weird because you're not going to have much of an investment in that character.
Yep. So the J. Edgar spin-off series would have involved less risk, and given that Bosch fans have invested in the character for 7 seasons, though the short run of the show's sequel has proven it's time to move on. See? And I agree. If anything, Honey Chandler is probably the one that could have spun off a legal procedural, because she had a commanding character. I mean, her presence in the show, when she was on the screen, you were paying attention. She was a lot of fun. She really was that character. And I would love for her and Bosch to be on another show. But,
oh, yeah. I think that would be really good. I think J. Edgar could have probably carried a show.
I get to use it. Yay. Bosch Legacy has been very successful. It says Bosch Legacy has been very successful with its new focus on the titular detective's daughter and new officers on the force, but I don't know. It seemed to...
It's just not as good because the daughter isn't as compelling a character. But there's enough time where it's spent on Bosch and Chandler, or Honey Chandler.
Yep. Yeah, not Chandler from Friends. It's a different one. All right. Anyway, that's it, folks. We are done for today's Non Sequitur news. So let's go back to the front page where we can look left and right really quick for all of the articles that we went into. See, because if you don't realize it, all of these articles actually represent little storefronts as we walk down Main Street, ohmTown, and you go into them. So that's how this works. You can just scroll, and you have a bunch of articles that you go into. Once you read the little snippet, you click the link and you get taken over to the article itself. And then you can come here or over to YouTube or to Patreon or the Discord or the podcast. We actually have 7 total podcasts. Non Sequitur News is the daily one. And then we have 6 more that are 30-minute shows once a week. And unfortunately, today's is way too delayed, so we're going to do them all tomorrow. So stay tuned. Be sure to follow us here on Twitch and YouTube to get notified when we go live. And that's it. We're done. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI will say bye.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We'll have another episode tomorrow, and stay tuned for our weekly episodes.
See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye. And I don't know why the screen is black.